All right, hello, wine drinking people. Time for more of what I've had to drink yesterday. And it's Saturday. It's the first what I had to drink yesterday that we've done this week. Man, I've been drinking since Monday. That was my birthday. And I want to say we always have an incredible week the first week in March. I'm shameless. That's right. I use my birthday to promote a number of very expensive tastings. But this year, we hosted our first big bottle party here for my friends that didn't want to spend $1,000 or $3,000 to come out and drink with me and celebrate another year orbiting the sun here. And hey, 1969 is my vintage, and you're going to get some 1969 vintage wines this week. Yes, you always get extra at the Wine Watch. 1969 Santenay Beauregard from Joseph Belland. Wow, incredible. 69 was a great vintage in Burgundy. Hey, it was a great vintage in Champagne. The best vintage champagne I've ever had was the 69 Veuve Clicquot Vintage Rosé. Amazing. Still good. You know what? I like old champagne. At the end of the day, every wine has got an expiration date, and the wines from the 80s are starting to get a little old for my taste now. The 90 vintage from so many places in the world, drinking at its peak. And hey, we started out with a little vintage Trebot Authentique 2012. Hey, and what makes Tête de Cuvée so unique? This wine was aged. It was disgorged in 2022. It sat in the cellar for 10 years. Amazing. And hey, they only made 5,273 bottles of this wine. One of my favorite wines in the store. Hey, at $149, just under $150. You get that extra complexity and richness when a wine sits entourage for that long. And this wine's still very fresh. At the end of the day, the 90 was the next wine in the line. And when I say vintage champagne, we opened up the oldest champagnes that we have in the store at this tasting. And I love the 90 Krug. The wine's been open for a day now. And most people drink champagne ice cold. And within 30 minutes of opening the bottle, hey, champagne is the world's greatest wine. It's the hardest wine to make. Most champagnes are a blend of 3 vintages, 3 different grapes. The cellar master, the chef de cave of champagne, is the most skilled of all of the winemakers in the world. They got to make a consistent product every year. But hey, vintage champagnes are special. And proof of climate change, aka global warming, is that Dom Perignon, the biggest of the Tête de Cuvées, makes 6 million bottles. They make it almost every year now. But in the past, it was like 5-6 years a decade. They've only missed 1 year the last 2 decades with Dom Perignon. And Krug, a little bit more rare because the style of Krug is the most important wine is not the vintage wine from Krug. It's the Grand Cuvée. And in some great vintages, they make a tiny amount of vintage champagne because they don't have the reserve stocks needed to make their most important wine. But the 90 just singing right now, and you're starting to get, after it's been open for a day, some lovely earthy characters from this. You get that chalky limestone minerality coming through. Still has a little bit of a dried floral notes to it. Still has some fruit here. Apricot, peach, and a little honey. A little mushroomy character. Some earthy qualities coming out in the nose there also. Wow. Extremely long finish. Hey, this is the second day. These wines have no bubbles. And after they're in the glass for about 30 minutes, these old champagnes, 35 years old, the bubbles aren't going to last very long. Hey, Louis Roederer, the wine that was created for the Tsar of Russia. That's right. It has the most unique bottle of all those champagnes because the bottom's flat. There's no punts in it. And you have to make a much thicker glass bottom to hold the 6 atmospheres of pressure in this one. And I don't want to say this wine was not as fresh as the Krug. 35 years is a long time for champagne. But very rich and layered on the tongue. Hey, every wine on the table got a vote for first or second. There was only 6 of us. 7 bottles? 8 bottles? 9 bottles for 6 people. I love those odds. And hey, it's my birthday week. I don't care. It's my birthday. And the 90 Cristal, absolutely fantastic. The Krug just edged it out a little bit in richness, and it's a longer finish. Hey, the 2000 Dom, I love the P2 2000. And hey, they make so much Dom, they had to make 2 different products. Hey, they do Lenny Kravitz edition. They've got all kinds, Lady Gaga, special packaging. The P2 Dom is kept for 8 to 10 years before it's released entourage, like all these great Tête de Cuvées. And the P2 is when the chef de cave feels that Dom Perignon that he's reached its second plenitude, usually 15 to 17 years, and this 2000, absolutely beautiful on the nose. I mean, just a hint of that smoky character you get from Dom Perignon. Let's have some nice quince and berry fruit here. That chalky minerality, and very creamy and layered on the tongue. Wow. I want to say this is the best drinking of all the champagnes today. Absolutely fantastic. And did get a vote for first. The 06 Salon This is a Blanc de Blanc from the Grand Cru village of La Menil-sur-Ogier. They don't make Salon every year. This is probably the hardest to get of all these champagnes because of the limited production. At over $1,000 a bottle for the new release. This 06 is drinking beautifully, and I want to say you could keep this wine a little longer still. I thought the Dom was drinking a little better than the Salon tonight. Both of them got a vote for first. We're really splitting hairs here because all these champagnes are fantastic. And then Cristal Rosé. Cristal Rosé. This is the 07 vintage. The 07 a little more precarious and forward. And this is the lightest of all the rosés. You like kind of wild strawberry and raspberry fruit here, along with that chalky minerality. Flowers, and wow, lovely richness and concentration. And the Cristal Rosé, very hard to find. And hey, why is rosé so much more expensive than the non-rosés? At least make less of it, folks. That's it. Dom Perignon Rosé, definitely the biggest of all these. In 08, a blockbuster vintage. I want to say that 08 still need time. It didn't get a vote for first. And I love this 08 Dom Rosé. I want to say if you have it in your cellar, you may want to keep it for, another decade or more. 08's still a baby. Krug, hey, this is the 27th edition of the Rosé. The oldest wine is the 2005. The youngest wine is the 2015. There's 38 different wines that go into this. This is why Krug is my favorite champagne house. It's just incredible, the art of blending that's been perfected here at Krug. And I want to say my favorite of the Rosés, the Krug Rosé. Between these three, drinking the best right now. One of the things that's great about Krug is it's not a vintage product. It's a base of one vintage. And then they blend the 38 different wines together. It's a symphony in a glass. Wow. Absolutely fantastic. Candidate for wine of the night, the 1969 Burgundy. That's right. Aged beautifully, just like me. And a lovely smoky character to the nose, a little leatheriness, but you still get some plum kind of fruit, maybe just starting to turn a little bit tawny. And yeah, lovely freshness. One of the great things about Burgundy is the high acidity. I think Burgundy ages just as well as Bordeaux, if not better. And the winner, the 1990 Krug, unfortunately we sold our last bottle. And that is what I had to drink last night at our vintage champagne tasting. I'm your host, Andrew Lampasoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying remember, always drink the good stuff first.